All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. This is Dr. Stephen Mercer, and I'm here to give you some ideas about college admission during this pandemic and all the unusual times. And today I'm really honored to have a guest to give us some real update information. Kirk Brennan is the Director of Admission at the University of Southern California. Kirk, I'm really pleased that you're here to talk with us today about what's going on at USC and also, broadly within the admission world. So you're someone who I think has a lot of perspective on that. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Stephen. I appreciate it.
Sure. So, I'd like to talk about the specifics of what's going on with kind of admission at USC, but could you just, before we dive into that, what's going on campus? How has this, I think most of us know, but what's changed if I was to walk around to campus right now? What's going on? What's not going on?
It's hard to say for me directly. I haven't been since March 12th. Today is May 13th. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember a time when I've spent so far away from campus since I enrolled my freshman year. I've been connected to this place ever since. So I'm reading stories and hearing from people who have been to campus and paying attention to the decisions that we're making as an organization and how we're responding to this crisis. Yeah. We, on March 13th, like many institutions, made the decision to stay at home. Yeah. Didn't know how long that would be at that time, and so many of us just didn't return to work, left the things in our desks, and had our laptops with us, and thought that might last for a few weeks. And that was at the start of our spring break, as I recall. And so students had already left anyway. And so we had decided to, I think in anticipation for some stay-at-home orders, we had started practicing doing remote learning or online modes of education in anticipation that we might need to. And we haven't been to campus since. So we came back from spring break and announced that students should stay away if they could. And of course, not everybody can. Not everybody can get home. Not everybody has a home to get to. And some live in countries where flights were no longer traveling to. So at this time, there are about 1,500 students living in university housing still. We've asked employees to stay home if possible. And there's some who cannot stay home, so that some of my colleagues are coming to campus to deal with essential services that students require and that the university requires to stay in operation. Nobody from the admission office is in that category, although a few of us have had to go to campus for various reasons, like to pick up equipment, like our keyboards or monitors or files or things like that.
Okay.
We've had to make some serious adjustments to the things that help keep students safe and healthy and happy. Of course, all of our services in teaching have had to move online. So the whole student affairs office has moved to a virtual mode or remote delivery mode. Our cultural centers, our academic advising appointments, in addition to the actual classroom learning. But that's not the only thing that a university has to think about. We have buildings where people live. We have a health center where people get their health attended to. We have dining halls where people get their food, and all of these things have to be changed to adapt and react to the rules of the day of social distancing, of healthy practices. So our health center has been converted to receive students who might be complaining of symptoms of the coronavirus. Our research facilities have even in some cases, turned their attention away from their primary research tasks to solving the problem. Some of our labs have converted their work to try and figure out solutions to the coronavirus situation. We've also had to convert some of the dining facilities to offer only takeout service to serve not only the students who have remained on campus, but also to employees who might need to come to campus, and even to the local community to offer low-cost takeaway meals in a socially distancing mode that is safe for everybody. I'm also pleased to say that the hotel, which we now operate, has been converted to a safe place for healthcare employees to stay.
Okay.
So, nurses and physicians who are serving patients who may feel safer staying away from home have a place to stay while they're working to solve the crisis locally. So, lots of change in how we operate day to day while we also make plans to think ahead to what might be next. And all of this reminds me that universities are not just schools, we are parts of the community. We're working to solve the problem. We're working with local campus leaders to provide, our local city and county leaders to provide advice on how contact tracing and treatment and testing can be initiated. We can be a resource to offer those sorts of services to the community. In fact, universities help to run some of the public hospitals. We
Right.
are involved in running one of the county hospitals in Los Angeles, and so we're involved in providing health care and treatment to the community in general. So
Right.
it's more than just taking care of our own, it's also being a responsible member of the community,
Yeah.
as we always have been.
Right. Absolutely. So lots of challenges, but also lots of opportunities, is what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I hope that anybody watching this can pay attention to opportunities to learn, to adapt, and use it as a way of thinking positively. There's no doubt this is a challenge for everybody, not just health wise, but or physically, but mentally
Right.
and in many different ways. We're social beings. We need community, and
Right.
this is a real challenge for everybody. And I hope that we can remember that through struggle comes opportunity to learn, to find new solutions. For me personally, it's been a way to move forward that has helped me survive too.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's talk about admission, and let's talk about the timing of all of this, right? The way it coincides with the admission cycle, new students, high school seniors being accepted right about the time when all of these shutdowns occurred, and making their decisions about where they're going to spend hopefully the next 4 years of their life, right? And it's kind of a big deal both for students and families, but on your end as a senior enrollment manager, right? I mean, the timing is tough. I'm sure there's never good timing, but can we talk about your perspective on this group of students that you've admitted and you want to come, and what do you want them to know? What do you think is going to be different? What do you think is going to change? Is going to stay the same? How are you dealing with all of that as an institution?
I think the group of high school seniors and college seniors and even middle school students awaiting promotion have an especially challenging task before them to move forward without the traditional rites of passage of these moments of transition. Anybody I talk to in my personal life feels that seniors and those hoping to celebrate a transition are really feeling the difficulty of this in a special way. And I want to acknowledge that it's a drag. We are all bummed out for you. You deserve to get together with your friends. You deserve to celebrate. You deserve to sign your yearbooks and have your promotional dances. And
Yeah.
it makes us all sad that you won't necessarily have the traditional ways of doing that. And on the theme of opportunity, I'm also hopeful and optimistic that you students will find ways to substitute something that is similarly gratifying. I'm seeing evidence of that, and to me, it's a sign of the resilience of humanity to push forward through challenges like this.
Yeah.
Boy, I often reflect on the word college. The word college is rooted in an ancient word that means to collect, that we gather, which is essential to what we do, and we're not able to do that right now. So the whole word is a misnomer in some ways.
Yeah.
And visiting and talking and face to face and being present with others is an important part of not only attending a university, but selecting universities. So
Right.
it's essential that students try to engage with and connect to their institutions as best as they can.
Yeah.
And we understand that, we recognize that. And so right away, we started making plans to work with our admitted students to enable them to find opportunities to do that in a new mode.
Okay.
We identified the different ways and different communities with which students would want to engage, and found ways to facilitate that using the same mode that we're using right now on Zoom or on chat rooms or phone calls or written notes to students to make sure that they knew how to get their questions answered in a way that required creativity from both them and from us as administrators.
I know, colleges across the United States are have different degrees of, I guess, success with engaging this next group of students and kind of feeling secure that they have an adequate number of students coming to kind of meet their goals on the business side of their equation, right? How do you feel like everything is going for USC in that regard? Are you worried? Is it, have things changed fundamentally in that regard, or is there really just a foundation of the way you do things will continue to work the way you do things?
We're always worried. I wish students understood how their behavior is always on our minds, and that they actually control more of the admission process than they think. They are the consumers of a transaction in some ways. I think college should be thought of as something bigger than a business transaction, but
Right.
it is an expensive proposition for many, and it should be thought of as
Yeah.
on some levels as a business transaction. So we're very worried. We're always worried, and this year with so many things up in the air, we're worried. We're more worried, and we're worried over a longer period of time.
Okay.
We were planning to admit a certain number of students, and given the level of uncertainty, we reimagined our enrollment strategy. We would typically aim to fall a bit short of our enrollment goals with the hope of not going over, and we don't have a wait list at USC. We offer admission to start mid-year instead of a waiting list, as many students know, but that is our way of managing our enrollment numbers a little bit more precisely to hit a specific fall number.
Right.
So our strategy for the past several years has been to fall a bit short on May 1, the date that students have to commit to enroll, and then fill in any shortfalls by moving students from that spring semester in the way many schools would use a waiting list. Between March 13th and March 26th, when we decided to finalize our admission offers, we decided to go back to a different mode of admitting students. So we admitted more students initially than we planned to, and in not knowing what the rate of return on those offers would be. We didn't know if students would feel comfortable traveling. We didn't know if students could travel. And we didn't know what the financial situation would look like on March 26th. And I don't know that we still know that.
Okay.
We see many things changing moving forward. We anticipate more uncertainty between now, when things were less uncertain in the past,
Got it.
between now and the start of classes. So we're anticipating being ready to make changes between now and the start of class.
Okay, so you were the changing nature of the class, the number of students coming, you see a lot more uncertainty this time around going into the fall when schools supposedly will start back up.
Well, we anticipated that, and so far we have not seen that.
Okay.
And I think students are still uncertain, but we're not seeing significant changes in behavior just yet, but we anticipate that might still happen. We're getting a lot of questions that suggest that there's still the possibility that students might change their minds. So the percentage of students who accepted the admission offer was actually higher than last year. It was the second highest that we've seen on record, which was surprising to us. We see many threats to that, though. We know that students may be unable or unwilling to travel.
Right.
And we also don't know what the fall is going to look like. And
Yeah.
once we decide all of that, we think some students may decide to opt out or
Yeah.
change their minds. And we also have many students coming from abroad who might not be able to get a visa
Yeah.
or hop on a plane and return to Los Angeles as they might have been able to in the past.
That's right. So I think that what you're talking about is that there's a lot of uncertainty, and it's almost uncertainty hanging in the balance in a very almost not to say that it's producing anxiety, but there's a lot of tension, meaning there's uncertainty and everybody's waiting. Institutions, colleges, families, students, and all the other institutions that kind of are going to influence
Governments,
we're all waiting
health
to
officials,
see,
sure.
yeah,
Right.
what's going to be happening. We suspect that there'll be some challenges. We suspect the economy is not going to be great. We suspect the job market is not going to be great. We suspect that colleges will look different in the fall, but everything is just a kind of a truly in a hovering paused pattern, and it's unusual, isn't it? Usually it doesn't seem to last this long in these types of situations in life, right? We
That's
have a little bit
right.
of uncertainty, and then it gets resolved. So
It's
challenging.
exactly right. Very challenging, and I hope to see the opportunity in that challenge. I hope students can recognize that the uncertainty that they feel is very normal and shared by the whole world. Nobody knows what's happening next.
Yep.
We in the admission offices are uncertain and feel for students and families who are having to make this decision now.
Yeah.
And I also hope that we can recognize that we have opportunities to react to fear in a way that might benefit us in the future. I don't think that we should be letting fear drive our decision making. Many students seem to be worried and may want to just take a whole year off, which I completely understand and respect, but I also wonder if that's the right decision right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what a student would be doing during the year
Yeah.
if they hadn't already made some plans to enrich themselves and grow. I worry that we may see a large portion of our community decide to put their own development and growth on hold. That will hurt us as a community, just
Right.
in general.
Yep. Some other folks that I've talked to have echoed that same thing, that in under quote normal circumstances, a gap year is just a tremendous thing, and I hope everybody considers it. But I'm switching gears right now, because what would you do during the gap year now, given the job market, given international travel being shut down, at least right now? How are you going to go spread your wings and have a growing experience during a gap year under these circumstances? It might make sense in a way to push on with your college education, even if things are different, right? Even if classes look very different and the experience looks very different.
I agree, and I, at the same time, be the consumer and ask the tough questions. We don't have all of the answers just yet, but we're working hard on having them. And a lot of the fears surrounding online education. I think that may be the wrong word. I think remote learning is the right way to think about it for the moment. And we don't know what that will look like in the fall. We're considering the option to allow students to stay online if they're continuing. And I imagine we'll see many schools propose hybrid situations with some degree of in-person experience and remote experience. But remember, the college idea, the collection idea, is still applying. We're not just watching lectures and taking notes and then taking tests. We are still engaging with others. We are exchanging ideas. We're sharing our perspectives and challenging each other's sense of what is true, so that we leave that experience with a better understanding of what is true. And that kind of exchange that makes a university experience so valuable is still happening, but in a different way. We're trying to foster that in all kinds of ways, and I'm so pleased that it's working. Students are we're hearing different things, but faculty and students have very quickly migrated thousands of classroom and laboratory and lecture and seminar experiences into a different mode that have offered even some students different enhancements to the opportunity that we couldn't have before. Ability to bring different guests in from all over, to share in different ways. So I choose to see the opportunities in that, and I think that students may be surprised at what distance learning or remote learning might look like for different places.
That's really great to hear. It's actually really inspiring. I think you're right. Even though lots of high school students have been also thrust into the distance learning right now, I'm worried that a lot of them are not having a great experience with it. It's challenging for high schools to also learn and figure out how to do this, but I'm worried that in many regards it's falling flat, and a lot of high school seniors or juniors are getting an impression made of what this online learning thing looks like, and they're not convinced, and they are not seeing what you're describing. And that's probably something that should be shared more, right? Because it can be inspiring.
I am sure that there is a spectrum of experiences and challenges, and we're also going through a cycle of learning and adapting to the new normal. Part of that adaptation involves a sad period. The stages of grieving come to mind: an anger period, an acceptance period, and I think we're seeing optimism and growth as well as pessimism and stagnance. And I hope that we can focus on the growth part to get through this temporary period. We'll be talking about this for generations in the past tense, and we're living it right now. And so paying attention to the positive stories, I think is valuable. One of my Facebook friends is a professor at USC. He just turned 80 years old. He's been teaching at USC for 50 years. And he is raving about how excited his students are to try something different, and how successful his classroom experience has been this year, sharing movies in a way that was more engaging than in a classroom setting, and him bringing in guests from all over the country in ways that he couldn't necessarily do if the travel schedules couldn't work out. And he said that his students reported that this year, that this was the best class that they had in all 4 years at USC, when a significant chunk of that class, a good month's worth, month and a half, was in the Zoom mode that we're in right now.
Yeah.
And I think that at a university, you're going to see a community that's more inclined to innovate, more inclined to find something new, to figure out a way to do what we all crave, which is learn and grow and become our best. I've been very inspired by the stories that I've read.
That's wonderful. I think this is a great note to end on. I could talk with you for a long, long time, but I really appreciate the perspective, the wisdom that you're bringing, the care that you have for students in general, USC as a community. And I think it's just really great to hear your thoughts on all of this. And I hope everyone is going to enjoy hearing them as well.
Oh, thank you. I hope that we get through this with as little pain as possible, although we learn through struggle. I'm not one to go to the gym, but my coach has always said, no pain, no gain. And I think if we look for opportunities for learning and growing in all this, we'll feel good. And thank you for the opportunity to share my views with your viewers and your students. Thank you, Steve.
Great. Thank you.